Hey, Washington Commanders fan, I have three absolutely crucial pieces of news that just came out, and they will get you excited for the game on Sunday night against the Broncos, even with that painful track record we have. The first reveals three specific aspects we need to watch during the game that might indicate whether we've actually improved during the bye week or if we're still stuck in the same hole. The second news finally brings that hope we've all been waiting for regarding the return of our biggest offensive star who has been out for weeks and could make all the difference. And the third is the most important of all because it involves a direct message from Dan Quinn about Jayden Daniels that will make you completely rethink your opinion on whether he should return to play this lost season. And, of course, don't forget to hit the like button. It's just a click, it's quick, and it's all I ask. Let's start by discussing the three main things we need to keep a close eye on when we face the Broncos on Sunday Night Football. The Washington Commanders have returned from their bye week and are already on the practice field intensely preparing for the final stretch of 6 games ahead. The first game will be extremely tough playing at home against the Denver Broncos, who are nothing less than the second seed in the entire AFC, and the Commanders will have a chance to see if the bye week was truly worth it, or just another temporary break. The team may be on the verge of mathematical elimination from playoff contention, but there is still much to watch and evaluate until the end of the season with an eye on the future. The Broncos will be a true test for the continuation of the trends in the running game that we've seen improve, a defense that desperately needs to show clear signs of sustained progress, and a possible roster change, with young players getting more opportunities. The first thing we need to watch closely is whether the Commanders will be able to run the ball effectively against the Broncos, because that is going to be an extremely tough task. The Broncos have one of the best defensive lines in the entire league, and this is clearly reflected in their performance against opposing rushing games. They are the third best team in the league in rushing yards allowed, with an average of just 88 yards per game, which is simply impressive. The Commanders have struggled in the running game for much of the season, but they had a surprisingly good performance against the Miami Dolphins with Chris Rodriguez Jr. showcasing his worth. We've seen Rodriguez Jr. shine in recent weeks when he's been given opportunities, and against the Dolphins, he was the absolute leader in rushing yards with 15 carries for 79 solid yards. It wouldn't surprise me at all if offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury continues to feed the hot hand against the Broncos. This game will also be a critical test for the entire offensive line to see if they can adequately block elite players like Nick Bonitto, John Franklin Myers, and Zach Allen, who are true play wreckers. If we can establish the running game early and maintain some consistency, it will completely open up the passing game and take pressure off the quarterback, whoever is playing. But if we get completely shut down in the run like many teams have against the Broncos, we'll have to rely solely on the air game against a defense that knows how to exploit that situation. The second crucial thing to observe is whether the defense has truly improved, or if that game against Miami was just a fleeting glimpse of something that won't hold up long term. The defense has undeniably been one of the main reasons for the dismal record of 3 wins and 8 losses for the Commanders this season, which led head coach Dan Quinn to finally take over as defensive coordinator personally from Joe Witt Jr. In his debut, directly calling the defensive plays, we saw an absolutely drastic difference in effort, energy, and positioning of the defense against the Dolphins. Was it just a fleeting moment of luck or something that can really be sustained over the coming weeks? The Dolphins scored only 16 points in a game that went into overtime, the lowest score allowed by the Commanders since back in Week 5, when things still looked promising. Bo Nix, the Broncos quarterback, has been a true roller coaster this season in his rookie year, with 18 touchdowns, but also 8 concerning interceptions, and a completion percentage of only 61% that leaves much to be desired. There will definitely be opportunities for the Commanders to shine and make significant defensive plays after the crucial defensive stops we saw in the last game. If the defense can force turnovers and put the offense in favorable positions on the field, we might actually have a chance in this game even being considered underdogs. The third and final thing to watch closely is whether Dan Quinn will continue to make strategic changes to the team with the future of the franchise in mind. Quinn has openly discussed the complicated challenge of trying to achieve 2 goals simultaneously, winning games in the present and developing younger players for the future, and both are extremely important even though they sometimes seem contradictory. Against the Dolphins, we saw Quan Martin play the fewest snaps of the entire season, while Darnell Savage played significantly more, indicating a clear shift in philosophy. Will Quinn make more dramatic changes like this week against the Broncos? Drake Jackson may finally debut for the Commanders after months of recovery, and we should see more involvement from other young players, along with a substantial increase in playing time for players like Jordan Maggi and Kane Medrano, who have shown potential. It's time to properly prepare for the offseason and the future of the roster, while it's still possible to evaluate these guys in real NFL games. These changes may cost wins in the short term, but will provide us with valuable insights about who truly deserves to be here next season when we return to competing seriously. Watching how these young players respond to the pressure of playing in prime time will be fascinating. Now let's move on to the second piece of news that finally brings that hope we've all been eagerly awaiting. Terry McLaurin of the Commanders is extremely close to returning after practicing normally before the game against the Broncos on Sunday night. The Washington Commanders, with 3 wins and 8 losses, will host the Denver Broncos with 9 wins and 2 losses on Sunday Night Football, a matchup that could mark the highly anticipated return of wide receiver Terry McLaurin for the first time since he re-injured his quadriceps in that devastating 28-7 loss in Week 8 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Initially, Washington listed McLaurin as a limited participant on the official injury report on Wednesday, but the team promoted him to full participant during Thursday's practice, his first full session since the injury in Week 8 that kept him out for so long. This extremely positive news strongly indicates that the 30-year-old player is likely to return against Denver, although his official participation in the game will only be confirmed definitively 90 minutes before the start of the match, according to league rules. He has already missed 8 consecutive games and is making a tremendous absence. And in the 4 games he actually played this season, McLaurin recorded 13 receptions for 203 yards and 1 touchdown, including 3 receptions for 54 yards and 1 touchdown in his last game against Kansas City before getting injured again. Having him back would be a huge boost for the offense that has been desperately struggling to create explosive plays without his presence on the field. In addition to McLaurin, wide receiver Noah Brown also practiced normally for the first time since suffering that irritating groin injury back in Week 2 that kept him out for practically the whole season. However, the team needs to officially activate Brown from the injured list by Saturday afternoon for him to be eligible for Sunday night's game, so we still have to wait for that final decision. Other receivers on the injury list include Treylon Burks, with limited practice after finger surgery, Jalen Lane, also with limited practice due to a hip issue, and Chris Moore with full practice despite a shoulder concern. Quarterback Jaden Daniels continues to have slim mathematical chances of playing due to that horrific elbow dislocation. Despite having practiced without protection on the arm he doesn't use to throw passes. Defensive end Drake Jackson, recovering from a severe patellar tendon injury sustained in 2023, participated in limited practice on Thursday and is unlikely to debut this specific week. Linebacker Frankie Louvu with a shoulder issue and safety El Cajo in the concussion protocol also remain with limited participation. The Commanders, currently 3rd in the NFC East, are desperately trying to end a brutal streak of 6 consecutive losses that completely destroyed our playoff hopes. Washington's offense is only ranked 17th in total yards per game with 330.2, 24th in passing yards with 191.6, but at least 5th in rushing yards with 138.5. Meanwhile, our defense ranks 31st overall in the league, allowing a staggering 387 yards and 26.9 points per game. A win would improve Washington's record against the AFC West to 3 wins and 1 loss, matching our best performance against the division since 1986. Historically, the Commanders have a positive record of 4 wins and 2 losses at home against Denver. And now we come to the third and most important news of all, which involves a powerful message from Dan Quinn. The Washington Commanders are back after the bye week, looking for an unlikely surge in the last 6 weeks of the season. There has been much intense talk about the return of injured Jaden Daniels, and especially whether or not he should play considering the horrendous record of 3 wins and 8 losses, and the playoff spot already practically too far out of reach. Coach Dan Quinn started the week saying that Daniels is already back to practice, even without being cleared for full contact, but that his return might happen very soon. Daniels publicly stated that he wants to play with all his strength, and Quinn explained the important reasons for his presence on the field, despite the understandable concern from fans about protecting the franchise's starting quarterback from more injuries. After suffering his 3rd distinct injury of the season, that absolutely horrific dislocation of the elbow that left all the fans completely apprehensive, many wanted Daniels to be sidelined for the rest of the season for safety. But that's just not going to happen, and his return is expected to be sooner than most anticipated, which is crucial for various reasons that Quinn will explain. We cannot squander the valuable game experience of a young, talented quarterback in just his 2nd season in the NFL, and those final 6 games will definitely impact the next season and his entire future. Quinn made it very clear why Daniels' presence on the field is so important at this specific moment, and the fans really need to listen to him carefully and understand the reasoning. Quinn said that sometimes we all in life look too far into the distant future and forget the present, but let's take the necessary next step, and let's not waste any moment in his development. He knows this clearly. We all know his importance to the entire franchise. We won't miss any crucial steps, but he's also a player still in development who is eager to get back on the field, and we are equally eager to help him become the elite player he will be in the future. We all know that Daniels is a true natural competitor, and honestly, there was no way Quinn and the team could stop him from playing if he was healthy enough according to the doctors. Even Joe Burrow is eager to get back on the field as one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league, despite the Cincinnati Bengals having an equally terrible record. Sitting on the bench passively watching would do absolutely nothing for Daniels' continued development. And playing real games, regardless of the team's record, is vital for his future and for the success of next season when it really counts. So the final question I leave for you is, after hearing Dan Quinn's arguments about the importance of Jayden Daniels continuing to play and develop, even in a lost season, and considering that he will finally have Terry McLaurin back to reconnect that chemistry they had, have you changed your mind and now agree that he should get back to playing as soon as possible to not waste valuable experience? Or do you still firmly believe that the risk of another potentially serious injury outweighs any developmental benefits and that we should keep him sidelined until 2026 when we have a better roster around him?